Google defines virtue as a quality considered desirable in a person, or a quality that is good or useful. With that in mind, do you think kindness is a virtue? Many people don't. In fact, most people believe that kindness is undesirable, childish, and something that makes you weak. I think this is because we're taught from a young age to defend ourselves and be wary of others, to beware of people's intentions because we could get hurt. This wariness turns into fear, which turns into coldness, or in some instances, hate. When fear turns into hate, kindness, compassion, and love no longer have a home. For me, however, kindness has always been the ultimate goal. It's something I've fought to hold on to, regardless of what life throws my way. I refuse to let the world and its various conflicts take away my kindness, my softness. And each time I start to lose sight of it, all I have to do is take a step back and remember why I value kindness in the first place. These reflections began when I first questioned why I believe in the things I do in class in 2012 or 2013 with my ethics professor. When my ethics professor first gave us a virtue exercise, I was a bit hesitant, as I'm sure many of his students now are, because group work is, let's be honest, something a lot of us dread. And my hesitations were confirmed when my group began discussing the virtues that we personally find desirable. When no one mentioned kindness, and later when I suggested it and they shot me down, I was confused. I didn't understand how anyone could not value kindness. This confusion led me to question myself. Why do I value kindness so highly? The answer is both simple and complex. Simple because a few key events in my life have impacted my perception of kindness, and complex because everything I've experienced has impacted my perception of it. Back then, I came to the conclusion that I valued kindness because of how I was treated as a child. Now, before I start talking about my childhood, I just want to start off by saying that my childhood wasn't nearly as bad as others may have been. I had and still have a good life. However, I was born with a disease called alopecia areata, and for those who don't know what that is, it is an autoimmune disease that causes hair loss and prevents hair from growing in. This results in patches of hair along my scalp and sporadic bald spots. As you can imagine, this set me apart when I was younger. I was bullied, I was called a boy, I was called ugly, and I was told nobody would ever love me. Now, of course, these aren't the worst problems anyone can have, but as an 8-year-old who already hated the body that she was born in because it didn't look like the others, it was a bit heartbreaking. But despite how heartbreaking it was, it did accomplish something. It gave me a different perspective of the world than that of my peers. It caused me to identify with the outcasts and hold off judgment until I got to know someone, because I knew what it felt like to be judged too quickly. Despite being judged too quickly, however, I was lucky enough to be shown a kindness that I know a lot of people who are bullied aren't shown. While some people reacted with disgust, violence, and hatred, others reacted with compassion and a level of understanding and wisdom I didn't know kids were capable of. Seeing how hurt I was and how much I was battling with myself, a few of my classmates stepped up and defended me, or simply tried to make me smile when I needed it most. I truly believe that this kindness I was shown as a kid saved me, because from a very young age, I did not care about myself. I believed all the negative things anyone had ever told me. After all, the negative tends to be more believable than the positive, because those were the same things I'd been telling myself for years. The thing about negative comments, however, is that they only have power if you believe in them. The positive things that my classmates said to me often outweighed the negative. Eventually, I heard the positive words so many times that I stopped listening to the negative words. Words are interesting things. They hold no physical power. They, like the old saying says, cannot break your bones. And I'm sure, as we all know, they can, however, break your spirit. But the good thing about words is that they can also heal you. The people who chose to lift me up with their words rather than tear me down saved me. I wouldn't be the person I am today if they hadn't shown me even a little bit of kindness. So not only has alopecia areata taught me what it's like to be on the receiving end of anger, cruelty, and misunderstandings, but it's also taught me that there are kind people in this world, and that kindness can make all the difference to someone. Just because you can't see the difference you're making doesn't mean you're not making one. And that can go either way, good or bad. For me, I'd much rather know that I could be making a positive difference than a negative difference. I'd much rather know I helped someone make the choice to love themselves than to hate themselves. Because the truth is, I don't know what someone is going through in their daily life or the impact something I say could have on them. With that being said, I understand why my classmates were so hesitant to accept kindness as a virtue. They had a different perspective of kindness than I did. And they had different experiences than I did. I do understand the dismissal of kindness now more than I did back in class. Because in recent years, there was a time I didn't believe in love. I didn't believe in kindness, in the goodness of the people around me, or the goodness within myself. I thought things were horrible and would never get any better. And I can't say that people who think that way are entirely wrong. A lot of the time, life is a mess. Horrible things happen all over the world. People kill each other for no reason, and sometimes I feel like I could suffocate on the hatred in this world. And don't even get me started on the negativity that we consume on a daily basis. But the funny thing about life is that if you give it the chance, it proves you wrong. Maybe life isn't perfect. We certainly aren't. We're human and we have these annoying little things called feelings, that tend to make things complicated. Our feelings make life messy, and contrary to what some may say, our feelings are always valid, even if the thoughts behind them aren't. With that being said, my lack of hope in love and humanity was valid. However, the idea that love didn't exist and that kindness made no difference, that there were no good people in this world, was invalid. Back then, I didn't believe it. But somewhere along the lines, I came to believe that everyone at least has the potential of being good. And with that realization, I realized that I also have that potential. There is good in all of us. Something that makes us feel compassion for someone else. Something that grabs our attention and makes us feel what the other person is feeling because we understand it. The thing about being human is that we often strive for connection, acceptance, love, etc. At times, when we don't feel those connections, we start to lose faith. And it's easy to do, and it's easy to brush off opportunities for connection when we don't feel it's worth it. There have been times when I didn't feel like it was worth it. I've had my ups and downs with alopecia. I've gone back and forth between loving and hating it. And I especially struggled up until a few years ago because I didn't feel like any of it, life, human connection, self-love, was worth it. I remember what it feels like to feel alone and like no one cares. What it feels like to think everyone would be better off without me. I remember what it feels like to feel so much pain and harbor it away until it overflows. The truth is, we all struggle sometimes. Maybe you're struggling now and nobody knows. And if you are, remember that you're not alone, even if that's how it feels. Maybe you've struggled in the past and you're good now. That's amazing, and you should be proud of that. And maybe your life is easy and you have yet to struggle. Because whether we want them to or not, they happen. And when they do, remember you're not alone. Whatever the case may be, I think we can all agree that life can be hard sometimes. My question then is, would you want someone to make it easier if they could? Lift some of the weight off your shoulders if they could. Make you smile if they could. That is the power of kindness. As cliche and childish as it may sound, sometimes the smallest thing, a smile from a stranger, a please and a thank you, a small compliment, can make all the difference to someone. Simply acknowledging someone and letting them know they're seen and heard can alleviate the weight on their shoulders. I truly believe that the energy we put out into the world comes back to you. And if you'd want someone to relieve some of the pain, some of the struggle, some of the weight dragging you down, why wouldn't you do it for someone else? Life's already hard enough. Why not make it easier for each other? Our differences are so much more trivial than we think. But we all have one huge thing in common. We're all human, and we're all trying to get the most out of life while we can. I realize many people will brush this sort of thing off, and I realize many people would disagree. However, I do have one proposition. Spend a week, a day, or even an hour treating people with kindness. Acting only with kindness. It doesn't matter how small the act is. Treat people with kindness and see how it changes the way the world interacts with you. Peace, love, and kindness to all of you. I'll speak to you soon.